notice of this meeting was posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building.
Thank you, April. If everybody could join me to salute the flag of our great nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everybody can remain standing for a moment of silence for our troops, their families, and all our first responders. Thank you. All right, first on workshop tonight, we have Park Mobile that's going to do a demonstration for us, or give us a little overview on. We're looking to change the way we handle the paid parking on Ocean Avenue. I'm not sure if a lot of you know that we've had such problems with the kiosks on Ocean Avenue, and they ended up costing us so much money to keep running all last summer. So we're looking to make a change down there, and Park Mobile's one of the companies that's going to give us a little demonstration tonight on what he thinks should be done on Ocean Avenue. So Les? We doing it on the screen? Yeah. All right, so we'll step off.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Lex Blum. I'm with a company called Park Mobile. We're based out of Atlanta, Georgia. I oversee all new sales in the Northeast region, including New Jersey. So, like the Mayor said, we've been talking with the borough about switching out the meters in favor of a mobile application, being us, Park Mobile. So, has anyone in this room ever heard of Park Mobile? A couple hands. Anyone have the app downloaded on their phone? A couple downloads. Okay. So tonight I'm going to give you a brief overview of how it works, what we're going to do with the borough, hand in hand, and then I'll open it up for questions, concerns. So I've got a short video that I'm going to play for you. It's going to give you a brief rundown. It's only about 60, 80 seconds long. Tell you how our platform works.
Looking for a smarter way to pay for parking? Download the Park Mobile app. The Park Mobile app lets you easily pay for parking right from your mobile device. You will even get alerts when your time is about to expire, so you can extend your time. You can set up the Park Mobile app in just a few simple steps. First, download the app for your Apple or Android device. Use your email address to create your account. To complete the sign-up process, provide your license plate number and state where your vehicle is registered. Then set up your method of payment. Once you've completed these steps, you are ready to start using the Park Mobile app. When you park at a Park Mobile location, find the zone number for your spot. It will be located on the stickers and signs that you will see around the parking meters. Next, select the amount of time you'd like to park in that spot. Confirm your information and touch the Start Parking button. In the app, you will see a countdown clock showing how much time is remaining in your parking session. You will even have the option to extend your parking session. Park Mobile, a smarter way to park.
So I'm going to give you a brief rundown and side-by-side screenshots of exactly how our platform works. So to reiterate, we are a parking platform that can be downloaded from any iOS or Android device. And we will help the borough in removing those kiosks in favor of a mobile app to pay for their parking needs. And this would only be along Ocean Ave right now. It's only where you currently have paid parking. So it's an easy process. It's about five steps long. Somebody would be required to download the app on their device. They'd register, or if they already have an account, for those who have used Park Mobile in the past, they would simply log in. They'll be brought to this screen with a map view. All these pins on the map are different zone numbers in a certain geographic region. So if you had them on Ocean Avenue, you would see pins on the map. You would simply click that pin. It would be actually auto-populated as well, depending on their geo-targeting. Or you can simply type it in by looking at the sign that's on the signposts. So once that zone number has been implemented or input into the app, you'll be able to choose your duration, your hours and minutes, and this is all dependent upon what the hours and rates are currently. You know, we're not charging anything that the borough doesn't already have it in place. So if the rate is $1 an hour, you would see $1 an hour in app. You choose either 2 hours, 4 hours. You click. You'd be shown the next screen here. It would show you how long you're actually parking for, your payment method. So we accept all major credit cards and emerging payments like Apple Pay and PayPal. You'll be shown that price. And underneath that price right there is our transaction fee. You'll be able to choose your vehicle. And each accountant can accept up to 5 vehicles. So if you have multiple vehicles within a household, you can toggle between each one. If you're using one for, on a weekend, one during the week, whatever the case may be. And once you hit start parking, your session has begun. And this is essentially in lieu of going to the meter to pay for your parking. So instead of having to walk to the parking kiosk, you can simply do it on your phone while you're waiting in your car by entering that zone number. So we offer a couple some great features to consumers. One of them being parking alerts. So if you're on the beach and you're waiting, let's say you go for 2-3 hours, but it's a nice day, you're going to stay there for a couple more hours, and the ordinances allow you to stay up to 10 hours. You'll be able to extend that session directly in-app. So you can easily extend up to the max ordinances that are in place. You can set parking alerts. So in case, let's say you've entered 2 hours, you paid for 2 hours of parking, you'll be able to set a reminder at 5, 10, or 15 minutes. That way you get an in-app notification that says, hey, your parking's about to expire, either extend or go back to your car to move spots. And if you get lost for whatever the case may be, you can actually find your way back to your car using your preferred map. That's Google Maps, Waze, and Apple Maps. So network effect. So all these pins on the map are where Park Mobile is currently deployed. So we work with both large and small municipalities throughout the country, east to west and north to south. So we work with large cities such as Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. We're in New Haven. And you can see all these pins along the I-95 corridor are Park Mobile deployments. So whether a resident from Belmar is going to going to Philadelphia for whatever the case may be, they can use our app there. If they're down in Washington, D.C., they can use it there. If someone's coming from Philadelphia and we're deployed in the borough, they won't have to download another app. They already have it on their phone because they live there. And that's what we call the network effect. And because we have so many deployments, and in the state of New Jersey, we work with over 30 municipalities alone. That is the most deployments in any state that our company works with. So along the shoreline, we're currently working in Asbury Park, not too far from here. We work with all the Wildwoods, North Wildwood, Wildwood Crest, Cape May, Ocean City, and a bunch of others throughout both South and North Jersey. So some of our marketing efforts, we'll work closely with the borough, with the VA, with DPW, with the marketing team to create awareness. And we do this by placing those signs on already existing signposts. So something we preach is we don't want to create sign pollution, but we also want consumers to understand that parking is now has to be paid for with a mobile application instead of going to that parking kiosk. During a launch, we can do stuff such as a ribbon cutting. We'll have people on site handing out wallet cards, familiarizing both residents and visitors with how to actually use the platform. Adoption, we send welcome emails to help keep customers engaged in case they don't understand how to use it. They can always reach out to us to get a tutorial. We'll send videos. We'll point them in the right direction to our website. Or they can always call the number on our phone, call the number on our website to speak with a live representative. Engagement, we can actually geofence Belmar. So let's say we launch here, people don't know that Park Mobile is deployed. Anyone who has our app downloaded will be sent a one-time notification that says Park Mobile is now available in Belmar. Please pay for parking on your phone. Just help create that awareness so for people to understand, instead of going to the kiosk, you're not paying on your phone. We have a loyalty program. We're always reaching out to consumers with news and updates about feature enhancements and whatnot. And advocacy. We take great pride in our App Store reviews and social media. So, Twitter is a big place for people to go and complain on if they need to get something done, if they have a bad experience. We have a team of 25 people dedicated in our Atlanta office that all they do is field customer calls. They're scouring the internet for Twitter reviews. They're reaching out to those customers and trying to figure out what exactly went wrong, and if it went wrong, how do we fix it? So, you may be thinking, well, I don't have a smartphone. What do I do if I don't want to use the app? On every single sign that we'll have up in the borough, you'll see this number at the bottom left-hand corner. It's a 1-800 number. It's an automated system that allows any consumer to pay for parking by calling to that number. It's an automated system. It'll bring you through a script saying, saying where you parked, what's your license plate number, and I failed to mention this, but how this is all done is through license plate. So when you sign up for an account, you'll actually be required to enter your license plate number. And that's how we know and how the borough will know when they start to enforce that you've paid for your parking. It's all done through that license plate. So you'll automated system will enter the license plate, the zone number, and how long you're looking to park for, and it'll create that section. So some things we've done in the past, we've done stencils on site that designate, okay, parking is now done with Park Mobile. We can get creative with signage, putting it up, whether it's at, right along the beachfront, those signposts. We can get extremely creative, and we'll work closely with the borough to discuss what needs to be done to create that awareness. So social media, we'll work closely with the borough again to get the word out that parking is now being paid for through Park Mobile. So we're on all major platforms, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. And again, we're going to be hand in hand, our team with the borough working closely with them. And I mentioned this before, but we can geofence, we can create that one-time notification to inform people that Park Mobile is now being accepted in the borough. That's all I have. Thank you. Yes?
Do I understand that if you don't have a spot number, you can use the license number? So you don't need the spot number?
So it's not technically done via a spot number, it's through that license plate number. So you'll be required to enter your license plate number, and that way the enforcement official will know that you paid for parking through Park Mobile because that license plate number is tagged to that section.
So you probably know that Asbury Park, you don't need the spot number.
Asbury Park is done a little bit differently. They're unique in that they do it by space number, I believe. So each deployment's a little bit different in how they'll enforce. In this scenario, we've talked about a couple of things. It's an option that we can talk through.
You know what,
Yeah.
We're not gonna have spot numbers any longer. We're gonna be driven by license plate.
Okay, thanks.
So we're gonna take those numbers right up the street.
Yeah. Yes?
You showed a slide with the neon green line. Is that going to run for 20 blocks?
This one right here?
Yeah, that one right there.
So we're gonna have to talk about what kind of signage or what kind of,
You proposing something on the
This is something we've done in the past to promote and create awareness that you can now use Park Mobile to pay for your parking. It's not something we do on every deployment, but in cases if the borough wants to and we think it would make sense, then this would be chalked. It's not permanent. It would be, a stencil.
it's up to us to decide how we wanna get this out there.
Yeah, we work with the borough to create that marketing strategy. So whatever the case is, we'll work closely in that. Yes?
Kind of question for you guys. Aren't we having like little network issues? So is that going to have any effect whatsoever?
With the apps on your phone, it doesn't work the same way.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, so we won't have the networking issues that we've had to do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's completely separate from those parking kiosks, which
No, I
you
don't
wouldn't.
mean, I'm not
Okay.
talking about the kiosks. I'm talking about, we have some
Broadband.
broadband
Yeah.
issues down there. And I was just wondering if that's going to make any effect. No, okay.
Yes.
So, Park Mobile charges a service fee from the person paying for the parking, right?
Correct.
The other thing, would Belmar need to, I'm assuming they already have license plate readers, but would they be able to continue using them, or?
We have one, we're gonna have to purchase another one.
Buy more, or?
Just one more. It actually, it speeds up the accuracy. Last year, we had a lot of problems, a lot of issues with kiosks. We had 20 of them. We had to avoid hundreds of tickets because the kiosks just weren't working. We were breaking down over there post-Sandy. So the problem is you get this license plate reader that's a separate company that from Park Mobile. Cuts down the time the parking utility, parking authority to do all down on Ocean Avenue, A Street, B Street, wherever.
Yes, in the back.
How much is the fee?
The fee,
Yeah.
that's to be determined by the borough. We're in talks right now, but that fee will depend on the parking rates that are in place. It's usually between 30 to 50 cents depending on the deployment.
30 or 50% cents an hour, or?
It's 50 cents per session. So if you park for, say, 5 hours or 6 hours, you pay $5 or $6, and then you would only pay that fee once.
Ours is $1 an hour
Yeah.
for parking.
Right.
So it'd be $1.30 or $1, whatever.
Yeah, it would be
So
$1.
if you park for 10 hours, it would be $10 and.
It'd be $10 plus our transaction fee. And that transaction fee is still to be determined. There's a couple more things that we need to work out.
Yes.
When you extend your time, you pay another fee?
No, we can actually turn, by default, that is a feature we have on, but we can turn that off if the borough would like so.
So whether you pay for 2 hours and extend to 10, you'd only pay that fee once. Yes.
How is law enforcement notified when our time is up? How's that work?
Yeah, so because you're going to be moving to a license plate-based system, when that license plate gets pinged, the enforcement official will know if they're during an active session or they're in violation and need to be ticketed.
It's actually immediate. The police officers or the parking utility will know automatically who is expired.
So the minute my time runs out, my license plate is transmitted to, my license plate
Paying to
number is
a
sent,
license plate reader.
and then how does the police officer know where my car is parked?
Through an LPR-based system that's actually roaming the street and pinging automatically license plates. And it'll ping 1, 2, 3, and then if there's one in violation, it'll be notified, and they'll be, they'll write a ticket or cite as needed.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's maybe a silly question, but
Yeah.
it would I assume that when there's violations, the borough gets the violation money. Would there be
They write a summons.
if we make it so easy for people to extend their time and not have violations, would the borough lose?
We would rather people pay for parking
Mm-hmm.
than write them summonses.
Yeah.
We want to make it a little bit easier.
Right.
Summonses are not a anticipated revenue for the borough.
Okay.
They're supposed to be a penalty.
Yeah.
So we can't anticipate that revenue. We would rather people pay for their parking
Okay.
than write summonses.
I just wanted to go over how if someone exceeds their parking session, how the LPR, does the LPR actually have to scan as the LPR is moved along the line of parked cars and scans all the license plates? When it comes to one that's expired, that's when they know that they're in violation.
Correct. I believe through the vendor that the borough's currently talking with, that's one way that they would be notified.
Okay.
I believe they also have pre-messages that would say these vehicles are about to expire, go roam the street, something like that.
That's even better.
But that's all determined by the actual LPR vendor. Again, we would be the mobile pay vendor on this.
Okay.
And we're working on that now. There's also a grace period. If somebody doesn't know how to use the app or can't call the 1-800 number, there's a time frame that we put on the LPR that allows them to get some help from our beach people or to explain they maybe didn't see the sign right away. So there's a grace period. It's not right when you get out of your car and walk up and you don't know what you're doing. It doesn't ping immediately. There's a grace period that we'll put on there.
Good. Thank you.
Yes?
Is the town still writing manual tickets?
We are right now. We have some e-tickets that we do utilize. We're trying to get a price on e-tickets now. It's a big cost. If we run anywhere from 20, 25 officers a shift, depending on the specials and the regulars that are out there. So we're trying to look at e-tickets in the vehicles themselves, and if we can, e-tickets in the parking utility.
Because who enters the data from the written tickets now? Is it the municipal court staff?
Municipal court, yes.
So if they had the e-tickets, they would just download it?
It would,
It
right.
automatically go into the...
Yeah, but there's a cost associated with it.
It also eliminates handwriting issues where you have tickets.
It's a safety issue also. If an officer's looking down writing a ticket, it's a safety issue also. That's why e-ticket is such a nice platform to utilize. So we're actually researching that, but everything's money.
Yeah, and again, to reiterate, this costs the borough nothing. We provide all of that initial signage free of cost. the borough wouldn't have to, have any capital outlay to get this program up and running. Park Mobile, we as a company make our money from that transaction fee, but for the borough, it's free for them to work with us because all costs are being passed on to the end user. Yes.
Question, I didn't come in the beginning, but
Yeah.
handicap parking. If there is not a handicap spot available, and correct me if I'm wrong, a handicap car with the tag can park in a regular spot and not get ticketed? Is that correct or not correct?
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been told
That's
it's
correct.
correct.
It's correct. Okay, so now if you have this and someone has a handicap tag, pulls in there, they're not going to pay for it because they're in a handicap.
We'd have to, we'll look into it. That's a good
That's
question.
what I was wondering about. Because if it's on a plate, you'd see handicap, but there's some handicaps that just have tags in the windows.
Yeah, we'll look at it, Carl. Thanks. Anything else? Thank you, Lex.
Thank you.
No cost for the borough.
So we don't even go there with that one. One of my favorites too, but.
Yes, he's gonna use the screen.
When you hear that, one like.
Thank you, Lex.
Thank you.
I think we have another workshop session, Mike.
Yeah, we have, our auditor here tonight is gonna go over the water rates, and just show how we arrived on what we're doing with the water rates. So, Bob, I'm Scott.
Do you have that one sheet with the graph printed for us?
Yeah, I'm not.
Do you have it printed?
No.
Oh, okay.
I can get it printed out.
Yeah, I want a copy of it because I got all sorts of other information from Smurfs and stuff and Jeans here. So last time we had people didn't think that was, yeah, that right there. So I didn't think it was a plane that made these
Center lights? Center lights?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Bob Allison. Scott Benedetto from Home and Freddie Allison. We were here a couple of weeks ago and presented this, and we were invited back for an encore. So I would just like to show you the dilemma that the borough faces right now within the water sewer fund. So what you have up there on the screen is 2 years of audited numbers, 2017 and 2018. And then the unaudited numbers are 2019. 2019 just ended. We have compiled those numbers, but again, they're not audited, but they're good numbers to go by. And then our preliminary budget for 2020. So as you can see, our revenue, total revenues, which is on line 6, consistent, right, from 2017, 2018, and 2019. 3.4, $3.5 million. And why is that? Because rates have stayed the same, usage is essentially the same. Expenses, however, total expenditures down on line 36, that has gone from about 3.4 million to 3.7 or 8 million, 3.9 million, 3.9 million again. So expenses have grown and revenue has not. And expenses will always grow just by the nature of inflation at the very least. But most of those expenses are not controllable by the town because they are driven by the Southern Monmouth County Regional Sewage Authority, the sewer treatment costs that are passed on to the borough, which you can see is went from 1.3 million and now was 1.6 last year. We're told now to be 1.5, but consistently has gone up a couple $100,000, or has gone up a couple $100,000 in the past 3 years. Purchase of water, that actually has gone down a little bit. That stays fairly consistent though. that's pension and Social Security costs are the next one. That will certainly have its inflationary increases. It was about $47,000 in 2017. It'll be about $58,000 this year. Capital improvements. Capital improvements have increased. These are, from what I understand, is when there's a pipe break or some sort of repair, which we just do right away. We don't bond it. We just pay for it, and that has gone up over time. Debt service is one of the biggest increases, and that's due to we have to start paying our debt. Over the past years, there have been a lot of improvements to the system, but it has not been paid for. It's been the money used to improve the system was debt. It was temporary debt, meaning that you would, let's say, example, take out $1 million and just pay interest on it for a number of years. In the state of New Jersey, you could have this temporary financing. They're called bond anticipation notes, and you can roll those over for a 10-year period without ever having to pay it down. That 10-year period is up, and when we discussed this last year when we did the budget hearing, and we knew that in 2019 we would have to permanently bond. So bond anticipation notes, now the anticipation's over, we now have to bond. And when you bond, you then have to start paying it down. So it's like a mortgage. If you buy a house and you have a mortgage of $300,000 and it's an interest-only mortgage for 5 years, well, that's all you're paying is interest only. 5 years is up, you got to start paying the actual mortgage off. That is the escalation in the debt service cost. So, as you can see, third line from the bottom is our excess or deficit. 2017 was the last year we actually made a little money. We made $69,000, and we had a surplus of almost $1.1 million. So we had $1.1 million in the bank. You would think that would last a while. However, starting the next year, it did not. We lost $224,000. That reduced our surplus to $850,000. The following year, again, because of some of these excess costs that we talked about, we now lost $430,000. That brings us down to a surplus of $416,000. As we roll into this year's budget, we're looking at a deficit of $680,000. So. And we only have surplus of $416,000, which means we would have a deficit of $265,000, which that's not a budget the state will accept. You can't have a deficit. You have to at least balance. And that is what we are proposing right now to increase rates. The proposal that's out there, or the rate increase that's out there, 90% of the ratepayers would see only a 15% increase. Again, I'll go back. In 2015, you also had a 15% increase. So from the 2014 year into the 2015 year, 6 years ago, you had a 15% increase. 6 years, 15%. That's an average of 2.5%. And then you just kept it flat. So now we need 15% again from 90% of the ratepayers. The other 10% of the ratepayers will be paying more, and these are only the very high users. And that is a progressive rate system. The higher users use more gallonage, put more wear and tear on the system. They should pay a little more, and we're hoping that the combination of that will close the gap, and we will be able to raise about $600,000 from that. And then we anticipate as time goes on, we have new users on the system. We'll have some new metering. There is development in town, and we anticipate them to come online so that we won't be coming back in 2 years and saying that we need more money. Hopefully this will now last for another 5 to 6, 7 years. That's the presentation. Is there any questions about that?
Does this, is there an accounting or allocation somewhere for further infrastructure maintenance, improvements, repairs? And how would that be handled in the future?
Well, that would be another step to do a capital budget for the future. So we would that's not part of this right now. But if we were to say that that we're going to need, another $5 million worth of repairs, and that's going to happen 4 years from now. Then we're going to have to start paying bonds on that. Then that'll be another amount of money. But for now, this will take us through hopefully another 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah, I'll let everybody in the audience ask questions. Is that right, Bob?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you share your assumptions on how you came up with 15%? How many homes that you have meters on? It seems that, how do you balance and come up with this?
Well, I mean, round numbers. If we needed to raise, if you see the water rents up there of $3 million, $3,005,000, 15% on that is $450,000. So basically, we have to raise. So $450,000 is coming just from increasing everybody 15%. But we still need another $200,000. How do we get that? We're getting that off of the very heavy users. If you use more than 25,000 gallons a quarter, you will be getting not a surcharge, but the amount you pay on the water over 25,000 is going to be greater than a 15% increase. And again, only 10% of the users in the town use over 25,000 gallons.
These are the commercial.
I would think. I would hope. Yeah. You have to take a lot of showers to get over 25,000.
So on that figure that you quoted for 2019, there were a number of places that didn't have any, they had minimum water readings. What would you estimate their contribution?
Well, it's hard. That we don't know. We don't know. Are we talking about? We're talking about the people who are finding out who weren't metered. Is that what we're?
That were essentially paying minimum.
Who should have paid more?
Where that's the assumption, but we don't know if they're just summer residents.
Again, what I said is that our increases we're hoping are going to cover this deficit right now. We expect that through greater efficiencies, greater certitude on who's paying or maybe who wasn't paying, and doing that due diligence, that we'll have extra revenues come in from sources that we did not get revenues from before. But until we know exactly what it is, we don't know. But it's not going to go the other way. It's going to go forward, not backward.
Thank you.
You have about more than a $300,000 drop in miscellaneous revenues from 2017 to 2020. What are the line items that make up miscellaneous?
Well, miscellaneous revenues are the only, as far as budgeting goes, and again, they may be revenues which we are able to get in. There are miscellaneous revenues that just come in that we can't budget for. The state won't let it happen. Well, some of it is just street openings, new lines coming on. Some of it is unspent budgets that have lapsed. So we have charges of $1 million and we only spend $950. $50 will come back to us. So that's another source of revenue going forward that will be able to offset our future deficits. So right now we're raising revenues to cover that $680,000. We expect to get other revenues in so that next year we're not coming back here and saying, oh, guess what? The 680 was good last year, but commercial went up again, personal water went up, we have to come back here again. So we are anticipating that there's probably going to be, I'd say another couple $100,000 that will come to the bottom line, and that will give us the cushion to move forward and not have to pay right away. Whoever.
The high volume charge that you were talking about, how does that affect apartment complexes? Because I don't pay my water bill, but the guy that owns it must get a huge water bill. So, and that would, go back into my rent. So would they be, if I understand what you're saying?
Well, I think I think that goes to metering, so, and what do we do?
What was the question?
They're talking about if someone uses 1 million gallons, but it's for 200 apartments, and the excess usage, and so that goes to the either metering, individual metering, or not, right?
Yes. We found that there's a lot of, in research and going back, we found there's a lot of double occupancy or multifamily dwellings that don't pay that minimum 77 a quarter. We're trying to narrow it down to how many locations are in town right now. I use Marina View Towers as an example. There's 104 there. So we're trying to get that all squared away. That's what we're talking about, the anticipated revenue, to find out who isn't paying. So if you're living in an apartment and you're not paying for that, I'm sure there'll be a charge that will go.
Well, I don't pay for my water at all. So I'm saying that my landlord is going to be in one of your high volume places, and he's going to get a surcharge, which then is going to reflect back in my rent. But actually, I'm one person, one bedroom, very little water use. Do you see what I said? Does that make sense?
I understand.
Okay.
Back right over.
It seems like the meter issue is more significant than what is being represented here. There was an article in the paper that talked about 900 of the 3,000 units in the town either aren't reporting or defaulting the minimum. That's a significant revenue issue. It seems to go back in time. So when you look at this analysis, a big part of this seems like it's created by the failure of the town to manage this program. And it to me feels irresponsible that you're looking to pass along a 15% rate increase without having done the analysis to really understand what the issue is.
I'll just say that anything in the past that hasn't been picked up is being worked on now and will be picked up later on. Again, the 15% increase is necessary. 15% increase just gets us just about to a break even. That break even is going to last 4 months, and then we're going to have increased costs. These other things you're talking about, we expect to come in. We hope to come in because I'm not doing it. I'm an accountant. I'm not an engineer. But the engineers are working on it as to finding out these things in the past that were maybe not charged properly. And when that comes in, hopefully we'll start building a surplus again. And this charge will last a number of years, and we won't have to every year say, hey, we need another 3%, another 4%.
This is kind of a meter question too, I guess, but like property Marina Grill down at the marina there, do they have a separate meter, or do they pay their water?
They pay their water bill.
They pay their water bill?
Yes.
Okay.
Just like the concessions on the board, they pay their water bill.
Okay. Thank you.
Just a question about the analysis and whether or not this can be identified earlier in the budget year. Isn't there a way that instead of having to do this now at the 11th hour under the pressure of our budget not being passed, isn't there a way like during the year that we could foresee or could have foreseen that we were going to have this shortage?
I think during the year we did know we were going to have this shortage, but there's no expense controls that can offset this, if that's what you're asking. I knew a year ago that next year we were going to have to do this based on the trajectory of what's happened in the past, and there were no new users coming on. There's just no other sources of revenue. It was just a matter of, okay, this is going to have to get done.
I guess this is not your question, but the town's question. Then why are we waiting till now to fix the problem when it could have been fixed earlier?
I just think it's got to be fixed when it has to get fixed. But
You knew a year ago you said that there was a problem.
Right, but we didn't know exactly what the exact remedy was going to be, or how much the remedy was going to be. Yeah.
The question I have is that, I've heard, that we're not just a condo building that wasn't built, for the water properly, but there were like 900 dwellings. Is that an accurate statement?
Ask the administrator.
There's about 900 that we've identified that have not been paying the minimum, that haven't been metered, so we're trying to, that's what we're trying to do.
All right, and so the idea is that, you know, I respect the fact you're trying to remedy the situation, but, I mean, now we're gonna go into this 3-tier system. If we can't manage the 900 that weren't paying the right number, how theoretically are we gonna get into this system where there's different tiers? I mean, we've already
What do you mean by we can't manage? I don't
We've already been
understand.
delinquent and not, you know, kind of like charging the 900 people. So now we're gonna throw this complex tier system into play, and how effectively is that gonna ultimately come?
Like Mr. Allison said, we need this now, or we can't, the state won't put that budget, okay? We're working on, we're looking at everything that's happened in the past. We found this out by accident, okay? We found it out by just looking at things because we have been reactive with all the things that have happened in the borough, not proactive. Now we're trying to get proactive on how we build and how we send flags up to tell us that that one big, huge facility is only being paid a quarterly amount, $77 a quarter. We found that out by accident because the condo association came to us and said that they notified the borough in 2016 via email to ask them when they were going to get a water bill. Once we found that out, I asked the question, why are we finding this out now? And how many more are out there just like this? And that's what we're doing.
All right, so is there gonna be a more capable person handling, you know, the water bill situation?
Capable person for the 2018 back?
What's that?
We're talking about 2018. You heard what I said, 2016, right? I found out about this in November. So now we're trying to fix the ills of the past. I know you hate to hear that, but that's what we're trying to do.
But is there a change in the personnel that's gonna be monitoring the 3-tier system?
Well, we're changing the culture of the front office that didn't have checks and balances, so we're working on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's checks and balances.
The only question I have for you is this, that the, you know, and this is just, pretend I'm a 10-year-old, I just don't understand why it costs more for the sewage part of the bill than it costs for the water part of the bill.
Well, if you want to just look up there and you'll see that the sewage part of the bill has an expense of $1.5 million, the water part of the bill has an expense of $400,000. That's part of it. I mean,
the numbers, but why?
Why? You have to go to talk to Smerson and they'll tell you. I don't know. We'll go this way. You.
So, I think what a lot of people are trying to ask and not getting across is, what are we doing to recover the lost revenue from these properties that are not billed or underbilled? Is there a plan? And if there is, what is it? And if not, when are we going to start doing this change?
Right now, and I'll bring up the Green View Towers again, we replaced the meter. We're getting readings. We're doing a 3-month study, a quarter study. We're hoping, and it looks like my CFO is here, that we recoup $100,000. They have an escrow. The condo association was smart enough, even though they didn't get it built, and even though they emailed the borough and the VA at the time, and asked when they were going to get it built, they were smart enough to put that money in escrow. Okay? We are going to collect that funding. That has been in the past. So there's a few places like that. There was no checks and balances in our water department where a red flag would go up. And the question was, how is one of our biggest complexes in town not paying the proper water bill? And when I asked that, do we have
to be allowed to go?
What's that?
How far back are we allowed to go?
Well, you can't. We're moving forward. We can't, if we don't cover, if it's not covered by our earnings, we're going as far back as we can. We're going back as far as we can. If we found out that people were just paying the minimum, we're fixing it now and charging them. That's what we're doing.
But how far back are you allowed to go?
Every single piece of property we're looking at. If somebody just had a 0 read or a no read and it was charged the minimum, we are going after the money.
You're going after it from the time it started to be a 0 or a minimum read?
Exactly right. If they were just, if you're in your house and you use a lot of water and you're used to paying $500 something a quarter and you're only getting $77 a quarter, it's incumbent upon you. You should know that you're getting past the system. In retrospect, our office should know, and they didn't. in Edmonds is a system that we utilize. I asked this question, why is there not a red flag for one of our biggest consumers of water? Why don't we know this? And there's a certain button that they had to push, and the culture has been changed in the front office. That we've changed, that we have a flag that goes up, there's a zero read or a no read, and then we were billing tenants instead of building owners. So if the tenants weren't paying, the poor building owner was stuck with a bill. If the tenant was only paying a zero read or a no read, $77.35 a quarter, building owners didn't know. The owners of the building then, if something happens with the tenants, they come up with a huge water bill. We changed that. We are no longer the middleman. We go right to the owner of the building and say, your tenant is not paying their bill. So we've changed that culture already. There's a lot of things that we're working on that we're finding out from the past.
All right, so Ed, what you're saying is that you're gonna go back to the 900 dwellings that haven't paid their bill.
No. Not 900 dwellings that haven't paid their bill. It's units that everybody else in town, even a property that has nothing, is paying $77.35 a quarter, whatever it is. But it's not being distributed fairly throughout the town.
Okay, so, but in recovering that money,
You're not going to recover. You're going to go moving forward.
oh, you're not gonna recover?
If people owe us the money, as far as zero read or no read, we're going after them for that.
All right, now, has that number been factored into the equation?
There's nothing. You can answer that.
No, because we don't know what that is. We don't know what that is.
So
But listen, this is what you have, everyone's got to understand. We have a $600,000 loss. We did a 50% increase to cover the $600,000. All these other things you're talking about, I would like that $1 million that's down low there, I would get back to that number. Because we need a surplus. We just can't, by the skin of our teeth every year. All this other stuff which is unknown. And if all of a sudden you're bringing in $4 million, which is not going to happen, then maybe a year from now we'll say, you know what, you're going to have a cut because.
Well, okay, so you're saying hypothetically that, you know, if the 900 people, you know, you find out who they are and what they owe, and you're going to recapture that money, that ultimately next year we may have a reduction in what the water bill is.
No, but if it's just a one-time, if it's a one-time hit, as your advisor, I'm going to say no. Well, one-time hit, but that'll go into surplus because when a pipe breaks or a valve breaks and you need it, that's what it's for. If it's a consistent amount of money, if there's a $500,000 out there, which we never knew we were supposed to get, and not giving you a big number because I'm sure that's not going to be it. And it's like, wow, look at this. We never knew that was there. It's not going to be that way. But that will obviously be considered. But again, remember, you had a 15% increase 6 years ago. 2.5% a year. Costs will go up. So in order to delay future increases, the more money that we can bring in from all this newfound information will be able to have us offset increases going forward.
Also, there's another thing, if I could call Christine, our CFO. There was an ordinance on the book to charge
A fire suppression fee?
fire suppression fee. They haven't done it in years. We just sent out those to 18.
No, there were 30 of them.
30 of them.
There were $200 or $400 fee, depending on the size of the pipe.
Right, and that was never, by ordinance, when we looked at it, nobody was getting charged that. So it's something that should have been charged to those businesses or those locations that they never charged. Yes?
Those revenue numbers, they indicate the 900 that are not being billed correctly, right? And that's
No, sir. They indicate 9 that are not, that there's a location on 10th Avenue. The Peps building, there's a water meter for every single apartment. Okay? At 104, at Marina View Towers, there's 104 units for one water meter. So we're looking at multifamily dwellings that are not paying it's basically a cost, infrastructure cost, that they're not being charged for. So, does that make sense?
No, my question wasn't clear. For instance, you mentioned building that they have $400,000 or $500,000 in escrow, whatever that number was, right?
104 units, and they held an escrow.
If they were being billed the correct amount, it would show up. It would have shown up in those revenue numbers over the last couple of years.
We would have had the number already there.
So the question I'm asking is this: the 900 that have not been, not been billed the full amount, let's call it that. Should that not be reflected
It's done.
going forward?
Going forward, we're going to be charging them a quarter. I believe it's a quarter, Christine? Every quarter, they're going to be charged $50. That's for infrastructure costs. Okay? That's going to hopefully, like Mr. Allison said, get back our surplus. We need to raise this money now in East County so we can get our budget passed.
No, I'm not arguing with that.
Okay.
I get that. What I'm asking is that.
That number's not in that number. If you're asking if that number is in that number, it's not in that number because it's not a completely known number yet. And we can't budget for something we don't definitely know. We think we're going to get that money in. We're hoping to get that money in. That money will then be added to our surplus going forward. Yes.
So given the issues with managing the water and sewage, do you guys do an audit of any of the other revenue generating programs to make sure we're collecting appropriate revenue in the town?
For anything else comes in this borough, are you talking?
Yeah, I mean,
Where?
this is a year, this farm's been in existence for years. And now, you unfortunately got underneath it, great, you get it fixed. But does it raise any alarms that, hey, we better look at the other programs?
We're looking at every revenue source coming into the borough. What was done, what wasn't done, what we can do moving forward. We have been reactive for the past 14 months. But as we move forward, we're learning things that have not followed through. We are now trying to be proactive in the changes that we're making, the culture that we're making in our front office, and with all our staff and all our employees, to look at every source of revenue that comes in this borough. We realize there's a problem, okay, and we're trying to fix the problem. That's what we're doing, and you're right, and it's on us to do that. Yes?
What did you do about the sump pumps going into the sewer lines?
Mike?
We're actively reviewing the ordinance now to see what we can and can't do, what we're going to change. And I also spoke with Oswald, that's the company we use to come in and camera our systems. And they're meeting with us hopefully next Tuesday. We have an appointment with them. And we're going to be looking at, also met with Smirza, with Mr. Corey, and we're looking at the infiltration, where it's coming in. It's not just the sump pumps. The greatest amount of that is through the infrastructure. When we have heavy rains, we notice we have charts to say when we had heavy rains, how much is coming through, how much is coming through the water level, when we have, the water table rises. So again, there are cracks certainly in our infrastructure. We're going to be looking at...
Have you done anything with the houses that pump into the sewer line?
Have I done, since last meeting?
No, since the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, as we go out and we're replacing meters, we check to see the lines that are going in, where is their sump pump going. That's how we physically get them. Then once we see them, the person is issued a citation either from code enforcement or the police, and they have to pay a fine, and it can't be going there
So if they
anymore.
don't change their meter, you're never going to find out.
Well, no, that's not true, because what we've done is we talked to code enforcement, and we talked about construction, electrical, plumbing. They're not just there to look at that. They're there to look at everything before they sign off. We had a building in town that was constructed in 2018, 5 apartments, 1 meter, no meters for the rest. Don't know how it got through. 2018. I wasn't here, this council wasn't here. Okay? We have had a meeting and we fixed that. Every official in this town, every worker is going to try to look and see what's out there. They don't leave a house, a summer rental, unless we look at all those things. Water meters, electrical, sub pumps, and things of that nature. We're putting in fail safes to fix the ills of the past.
Make sure it doesn't go off.
Yes.
As a point of clarification, on the PEP's building with all the meters, are they getting charged $77 a quarter?
Yes.
Why would you do the same thing for Marina Tower? Because that's the quarterly charge for people who live in a unit. And there's our own units. So I don't understand why you would make that $50 instead of $77.
I'm not. I don't have that information. I'm not an accountant.
No, I can answer that question. We're charging 50 a quarter because they don't have a meter, but we're going to surcharge every apartment. They don't have a meter, so we don't have to worry about the meter charge, but we're going to just surcharge 50. Now they're still paying the usage charge through that 1 meter, but that's how we're going to balance it out. And that's the number we come up with all of our auditors and our CFO. and it was the number that actually works instead of charging the full rate, because they are getting charged for flow, but they don't physically have a meter, and you can't put a meter in every unit because of the old buildings. So that's where a lot of people are saying about the 900. We have 900 apartments basically in the borough. So each one of them are going to be getting charged $50 per quarter. So that'll take care of our infrastructure costs, because that's what basically $77 is for all our infrastructure costs.
And then they pay for all flow, they don't get the first 5,000.
Yeah, they have to pay for all flow, so that's why it's the difference in price. They don't get the first 5,000 gallons because we can't meter it. So we're metering it through the big meter, but each apartment's going to pay $50 a quarter. Yes?
How is that fair? Because the apartment buildings don't have a 5/8-inch meter like the houses do. They have 1.5 inches, a 2-inch, a 4-inch, and they're paying a much larger charge every month for the service. So for you to come in and say each unit is going to be paying $55 on top of what we're already paying is not fair. How can you do
That's
that?
how we calculated out the 50.
But that's how you
And that's why
calculate it
it's
out,
lower
but it's
than
not fair. You check with all the other water companies.
You want to check and see what all the other towns, because I think we have, some of the comparisons to some of our surrounding municipalities are double of what we are, triple of what we are.
Well, you know what? I can't talk about what their monthly charges are and what their usages are. But when you have a building that has a 2-inch, 4-inch meter, and you look at the monthly charges they pay, and then you want each individual apartment to pay an additional $55 a quarter, that's absurd. Because none of the other water companies do it. Check with Suez Water. See how they bill.
We have lots that pay 76, whatever it is, a quarter, with nothing on it. Is it fair that all these residents paid this all these years? Is that fair? That never said 900 didn't?
Because the services there are available to use, and how a house, and I'll just say a house, cannot use any water for an entire year unless it's vacant.
It's about infrastructure. It's about infrastructure costs also.
Yes, and that's why they pay the quarterly charge.
The quarterly charge of a 4-inch meter is the same as the quarterly charge of a house in this town.
Are you kidding me? I believe I saw something on
No,
the...
it's the $77, right?
Yeah. Well,
And that other towns do it differently, but this one has not. That's something for the future we're also going to look at.
You're going to look at it?
We're going to look at that because the pressure on the system is a lot more for the larger ones, and that's when we did comparisons of other towns, we said, this is different here, that everyone's paying the same rate, even though you're a much harder user, I'll call it, onto the system.
The question I have is that, last question for about the water thing is that, how does the beach fit into this? I mean, the Beach Association.
We are metering the beach.
Third tier?
No, we're metering the beach to get that.
Are they in the third tier?
We don't know.
We don't know. Never been metered.
We don't know.
We're going to get a big
I'll answer that, and that was one, and it's good. You have all the questions I had when I first came in here. I'm on the order for a year. It's a good question. So there's a certain amount of money that the beach pays over to the utility, and I said, well, how is that determined? Nobody knows. That's again, it's a past administration. Nobody knows. That's just the number. I said, well, you have 12, you have 20 beaches, you got showers, you got this, you got that. How you got to get your arms around this? So again, the state doesn't let you budget for something which you haven't had in the past. We just can't tell the state, we think we're going to get this. So we're going to do a metering, I think, of at least, my idea is maybe like a couple of the beaches, and then.
Well, I heard it was going to be all the beaches.
Well, at least as an auditor, if there's 20 beaches and you monitor 2, you times it by 10, that's the number. But that's what I would think. But they may be doing all of them.
Practical sense. 16th Avenue is much more populated
Okay.
than 5th Avenue is. That makes sense.
I'm just telling you that from a standpoint of what the state will accept, you could do something like that. Their plans of metering are probably more elaborate than that.
We're working on getting it metered properly, Si.
Yeah, I'm trying to answer your question about what's up there, not on the ground what they're going to do.
question as to, I understand, by the way, that, yeah, we gotta raise money quickly in order to get the budget passed, okay? But is the water meter itself, and that's potable water, we got three types of pipes in this town. We got potable water, we got sanitary sewers, and we have storm sewers. Are all those costs being rolled up into that meter, water meter?
I mean, the costs are up there, as far as.
No, excuse me, let me just explain something for a second. What's missing out of all of this is stormwater, okay? And we know what happens here. We actually end up sending more money through the sanitary sewer to South Monmouth Regional Sewerage Authority than we sell. In other words, we shouldn't be sending any more water to the Sewers Authority than what we sell. But we have a big infiltration problem, okay? And that's the result of stormwater. Whether it comes from sub pumps, whether it comes from cracks in the pipe, it doesn't make much difference. It's stormwater. I guess, last year, the state of New Jersey passed a law that allowed municipalities to establish stormwater utilities to start, in order to generate a revenue stream for the cost of handling stormwater. And just looking at what's going on in town here now, all these new apartment buildings and parking lots and everything else, that's all 100% impervious cover. That's all stormwater that we're going to have to handle. Do we actually expect that we're going to handle all the costs associated with that by just reading a water meter and billing the residential property owners?
I can't answer that question.
Sir, the stormwater legislation you're talking about last year is to assist with the infrastructure of stormwater infrastructure, not a charge for the amount of stormwater that goes through your meter, or through the sewer system.
No, you're missing my point. Our costs associated here with running the Belmar water and sewer utilities are greatly influenced by stormwater.
No question.
Okay, whether it's rainfall or whether it's the ocean
Pumps. Yeah, no question about it.
Into Silver Lake. Why aren't we taking advantage of forming a stormwater utility to start getting a revenue stream to handle stormwater? The stormwater affects that bill that South Monmouth Regional Sewerage Authority sends us. Greatly affects it.
Well, I guess it's a political decision how you're going to raise the funds. If just off the top of my head, if the town were to do what you're just suggesting, everybody would pay another tax. As opposed to
number one, it's not
I think
a
what you're
tax.
talking about, Mr. Kramer, is you're talking about any new buildings or anything like that that they got 100%.
It doesn't make any difference. If you have impervious property, okay, you're going to have stormwater runoff into the streets, into the basements, raising the water table. Okay?
So, I mean, that's where you consider, that's where you would get the revenue from, like new buildings being put up? That you would charge them a fee?
Well, of course, nobody's got the political will to go back and charge people that have been living here for years another so-called rain tax or anything. But yes, first thing to look at is all this development that's going up, that's 100% impervious coverage. And it's a utility. The good thing about a utility is that unless there's something included in a redevelopment agreement, there's no immunity from a utility bill. And I know people like to call it a tax, but these are real costs that we're going to have to handle going forward. And I think we're already starting to see the problems right now.
That'd be a good idea. I'm always good for more revenue.
part of the issue with Belmar and in all the towns around here with a high water table is you have infiltration issues. You have pipes that are cracked. In 2018 was the highest rainfall ever So guess where a lot of that rainfall went? It went through your sewer system, and you paid for it.
You're absolutely correct that we get charged for more gallons by the sewage company than we pump. And there's a reason for that. It's sump pumps and infiltration and whatever else might be. No question. A lot of towns now, unfortunately, you got to start biting the bullet. Most of the towns around here have 50, 60, 70-year-old pipes. And 50 or 60, 70 years, as we all know, it's a little...
My decks are a lot older than that.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you, Mr. Allison. I know we got a little bit off base, but I'm going to use that.
Well, this was going to happen next week.
That's something that's
Thank you, George.
Mark. Can they go?
We can go. Okay.
Can they go?
Oh, yeah, you guys,
See you guys.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, good night.
Okay. We're moving on. Anybody in the audience have petitions for us tonight? All right, seeing none. Approval of the minutes, April.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the February 18th meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second that.
Okay. Councilman Juan? Yes. Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the February 24th meeting?
Second.
Okay. Councilman Juan? Yes. Councilman Brennan?
Abstain.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Abstain. All right. Reports of council. Councilman Carvelli?
Thank you. Well, none of my committees or commissions have met, so I don't have anything to report.
Okay, thank you. Councilman McCracken?
Okay, there was a meeting last evening of the Belmar Housing Authority. All 50 units are occupied. There's one unit that will be opening up at the end of the month. Management has 2 interviews scheduled for this week to fill that vacancy. So we have a waiting list there of about 200 people for 50 apartments. So it's not anticipated that it will be any problems fixing or filling that unit. The roof is leaking, and RFPs are being sent out to identify an engineering firm to write the specs so that can be properly bid on to replace the roof. Management anticipates the cost of replacing the roof to be about $75,000, and they have that money in capital reserves to be able to replace the roof and repair that. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but new low voltage LED, or I guess it's LED lighting, has been placed around the exterior of the building. It will draw less energy and improves the safety of the building, not only from a crime standpoint, but certainly for the seniors who live there with going into the parking lot and accessing in and out of the building in the evening. So that's a good improvement to that property, which will make it all around safer for those folks. And finally, on a good note, the residents are having a St. Patrick's Day party. It's not open to the public, sorry, but on March 15th at 4 p.m. And I just think it's great that they have a tenant network that gets together and celebrate special events and have time to get to know each other and more socialization and things like that. The Shade Tree Commission, as I reported the meeting 2 weeks ago, is very active, putting new policies and procedures in place to run more efficiently, has plans to do public education about what the Shade Tree Commission does, and they're looking at the ordinances. They've identified some inconsistencies in the ordinance that they want to clear up, and they'll be making recommendations in the future to the council. If it's all right with all of you, I just take a minute, as you all probably see me frantically writing at these meetings. I take notes about what happens here and when people come up, and I just want to make sure that the issues that have been raised in previous meetings are being addressed by us as a council and by the administration. I mean, people come to these meetings, take time out of their busy schedules, they take time away for their families, and they come here and express issues that are very concerning to them. So I just wanted to bring up, I know Councilman Levis on February 18th spoke to us about the recycling program, the size of weight limits, and followed up with us with an email of other inconsistencies that are in the ordinance. I just wanted to let everybody know that that has been referred to DPW. DPW is looking at those ordinances, or looking at that ordinance, and plans to come out back, I think at the next meeting you said, Mike, may take a little longer, with recommendations how we can incorporate some of the recommendations that Councilman Levis and some others have made, with the priority, obviously, of keeping our employees safe and taking care of our human resources. So that's something, I see Councilman Levis is here in the audience tonight, so that's something that's being worked on and reviewed by DPW. There was obviously, people brought up a couple times about movies on the beach. That is something that is also being evaluated, and we're trying as hard as we can to try to have some movies on the beach this summer. As you know, there was a lawsuit. The money to fund those movies was taken out of the beach utility, cannot be taken out of the beach utility anymore. So we're trying to find a way to have that family activity and not have it be a cost to our taxpayers. Miss Fowler, I think I saw her here, she's over there, fell on a 2-inch lip, and I just wanted to follow up with you, Ed, to make sure code enforcement went out and looked at that, and that safety hazard is being taken care of.
I got a full list, and we're working on it.
And just looking at some other notes, I feel like I'm missing stuff here, but if there's anything I didn't follow up, it's because I'm getting to the point in my life where I need glasses and I can't read all my notes as well as, but I think that, what's that? Cheaters? In my mind, do I want your cheaters? I probably need them. But I think that's about it that I had just as follow-up to the last meetings. If there's anything else, I'm sure people will remind us. So.
Thank you. Councilwoman Wong?
Thank you, Mayor. I hope everybody had a wonderful time at the St. Patty's Day Parade. I know we enjoyed it very much. It was wonderful. And thank John. I watched the video of being in the parade. I really didn't see the parade. Didn't realize we had horses. There was some kind of a mummers kind of band in the parade. It was really good to watch it. And John's commentary was so up and happy, and interviewing the crowds and pointing out businesses along the road. I enjoyed watching it. So thank you. And I want to thank Councilman Brennan for bringing me beads from Mardi Gras. He brought us all beads. I was the only one with the nerve to wear them. We're having a reorganization meeting this Thursday of the ADA. We have to reorganize and go forward, and we're starting on this Thursday. Next week we'll have the Parks and Recreation when Barry gets back. He's away, and we're going to start up with that. But I just have one little report. Believe it or not, summer's coming, spring's around the corner, and our rec, Belmar Rec, summer camp starts on June 22nd for grades 1 to 6, and the sign-up for returning families will be at the Taylor Pavilion on March 23rd from 4 to 6, and first-time campers will sign up on March 24th from 4 to 6 at Taylor Taylor Pavilion. So that's running with rec. And if you check out our website too, there's some wonderful activities for the kids. There's running programs, junior lifeguard. We have a lot of wonderful programs. So please look them up. And thank you very much. Tom?
Thank you.
How about that?
Council President Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, I was away. I've been away basically for the last 2 weeks. So, like Councilman Carvelli, I haven't been able to go to any meetings or report anything. But I did want to mention two things. This past Sunday, it's the first parade I've missed in over 20 years. But everything I've heard it just speaks again to the great job that our police department, our DPW, everybody from the borough does to make sure that an event like that goes off without a hitch. Naturally, there are always some kind of things, but overall, we run a very, very, very successful event between the two communities, Lake Como and Belmar. And, you know, what can I tell you? Yes, I was sorry to miss it, but my wedding anniversary is February 29th. Only every 4 years. I love the parade, but I love my wife more, and I promised I'd take her away, so that's what we did. The other thing that I missed while I was away celebrating my anniversary was another one of those car rallies, and several residents have contacted me expressing understandable concern about the noise and the traffic. When I mentioned it here at Borough Hall, one of the things I was told is that we are actually monitoring the site where the people who are involved in that activity organize themselves and say, oh, well, let's go to such and such a town on such and such a date at such and such a time, and then they just show up. Because we knew they were coming, we were able to call in other police reinforcements from other towns, and we were able to give out numerous citations for noise and other violations. The question I've gotten from a couple of residents is there any way we can use our special events ordinance as a way to enforce, basically to stop them from doing this? Can we do something like that? Is there a way we could look at that?
We can look at it. I don't know how you define special events. We can look at it.
I think the short answer, and I'm not a lawyer by any stretch of imagination, but it's an unsanctioned, unorganized event.
Mm-hmm.
And we have this thing called the Constitution.
Yeah.
And it allows people to gather.
Yep.
You can't stop people from coming into your town. So all you can do is make sure that they respect the ordinances, the motor vehicle laws. And,
right.
And that's what the police department does. And that's, there's no, I got a few calls also, and I think Mr. Gaston will back me up. We can't restrict people from coming into our town. I had somebody call me and tell me that we should have blocked the streets off. That's ridiculous. You can't do it. All you can do is manage it with the people that you have good intelligence out there, and make sure that we handle the ordinances, the motor vehicle laws, and the criminal code. And the police department did an excellent job in doing so.
Yeah, I think so. My hope is this. If the group that organizes or doesn't organize this event, flash events, the whole point of them is that you don't know how many people are going to show up, and the only people that know they're going to show up are the ones that do. I think if they find out that we're actually monitoring them, and they know that if they come here, they're going to be met with an extra police presence, and all the bad actors are going to be cited, as many as possible, maybe they'll just decide, oh, Belmar's not that much fun, and we'll go pick another town. That's fine with me. Okay? All right, so thank you. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to echo what our council president said about the parade. DPW and the police department did an excellent job this year. We've had, because of the sunny weather, there was an influx of people, the most I've seen in a long time. So I just want to congratulate them for doing a great job. The only other thing I got that everybody failed to mention this Sunday is our Dine and Discover event. So if anybody could come out to that, it should be a great time. John Sabia, our social media director, has been working hard getting everybody out there. Because this year, most of the events that we've been doing, we haven't been doing any print media. We've been doing all social media, and it seems to be really working out. The parade was all social media, no print media, and everything that we've been doing is John's been really pushing social media, and it really seems to be working. And we're way ahead in ticket sales for the Dine and Discover this year, so it should be a good event. And that's all I have. All right. Where are we going? Public session on any of the resolution items. Yes.
Mark Levis, 904 13th Avenue. I just wanted to comment on Resolution 2020-75. This is the resolution appointing Wilco as the developer here for the proposal that we saw a couple weeks ago. I just wanted to voice some of my objections to the proposal as it's presented. Hopefully they can be addressed if you guys do move forward with them, because there seem to be a lot of things in the proposal that were fairy tales. Number one being the ferry. And I just want to address some issues that I discovered while reading the entire proposal. I think a couple things they're not accounting for is per 33 CFR 322, the ferry is going to require a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers. It's not a very easy thing to get, especially since the location they're looking at would be in way of a federal navigation channel. It kind of looked like they just sort of drew a ferry dock on the proposal and hoped that...
Well, you're right. It was just a proposal. It's just a proposal. Yeah.
But, a lot is riding on people being really hyped up about a ferry. I think a ferry would be an interesting thing here. But I think it'd be more interesting to see an RFP go out to a ferry company and say, what can you guys actually do here? They're talking about a hydrogen-powered ferry that's never been invented before, that has not been tested. And I don't really think Belmar should be the testing bed for a ferry service that's not in existence. The hydrogen utility alone for that would take up at least 10,000 square feet. And this is based on feasibility studies that have been done for other ferry companies around the world. There's no area in that proposal where there's a 10,000 square foot hydrogen processing facility. Even if a conventional ferry were used, it would still need diesel fuel. It's not like we could have diesel trucks coming in here to bunker the ferry every day. Per the proposal, there were 765 parking spaces that were going to be located below ground. And the developer mentioned that it would just be okay for those spaces to flood once in a while. But we all know that sort of nuisance flooding is on the increase around here. It's not just happening when we have a nor'easter or a hurricane. It happens on K Street every time there's a high tide and a wind coming in. So where are those 765 cars going to go when there's nuisance flooding? They're going to have to find some place to go. And if they don't, they're not going to be residents of that location very longer if their car is constantly getting flooded. The other point I want to bring up is $5 million that they said they'd set aside for a municipal complex. Seems kind of low considering the site that it has to be built on. There's going to be a lot of reclamation that needs to go on that site because it used to be a coal gas plant. So the groundwater there.
I don't understand it. In this site here, where they're proposing to build?
No, where you're proposing to build a new municipal building.
We have no idea where that's even taking place.
Right,
so what they said is one thing. What's going to happen is going to be a totally other thing, and that's if it goes forward. I just want to make sure that you're clear tonight that this here is because we're not the drivers in this whole thing. It's that seaport area. So what we're doing tonight is we're putting their feet to the fire to see, are they going to put those properties under contract, and are they going to give us $125,000 to start all of the infrastructure studies we have to do, parking, all of that. So the plan that they showed is pie in the sky. That thing's going to change a million times, and it could be to the point that it doesn't work here. But we have to start somewhere, and we're going to explore their idea. But first of all, they're going to tie up those properties up there first before we even talk to them, because we're on the back end of this whole deal. And if one of those properties pull out, we're done, because those properties are the key to the whole project.
No, and I'm glad that was written into the ordinance as part of the contingency.
All we're doing is this is an exploratory to see how if they're serious.
Well, I think the RFP is really where we're doing the exploratory phase. I mean, we got 2 proposals. I think the second one was even worse. But I don't see anything good about this proposal unless it's scaled down significantly.
Well,
I mean,
that could be a case. Our planners, our engineers got to take a look at it. But until they put that money up, Our tax money isn't paying for that.
I
Our tax money
understand-
is not paying for that.
I understand that, but you and I both agreed with the Brandywine project when that was going on.
No,
that it was
I,
too
no,
big for
no,
Belmar.
I voted no for that.
Right,
That was crazy.
and I objected to that as well. And you guys even said 206 residential units, Belmar doesn't need.
That was 206
hundreds-
residential units just on this property.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you said Belmar doesn't need hundreds of new apartments. They're bad for Belmar businesses, bad for Belmar families, causing increased gridlock without adequate planning, development with proper impact studies. And that Brandywine project never got as far as this is now. So I would just say, please.
Yeah, they put a proposal together.
Yeah, but it was
they're
never,
just right where they're at.
But they were never voted on as the developer for that property.
Well, this is a condition. This is a condition. If they don't meet the conditions in 45 days, they're not the developer.
I don't think this proposal is one we should even be looking at.
Okay.
That's just
Thank
my
you.
opinion.
Yes.
I really don't like coming up here, but I have no choice. Also about the proposal. I'm a little confused from what I just heard about what the developer is proposing is really not what is going to happen. But yet, the town went through a lot of work to prepare an RFP, which said it required certain things from the developers who were going to put in a proposal. And I went through the entire RFP, and I came up with a checklist of probably about 15 or 20 items. And then I compared it to the proposal of the DOPCO group. And right from the beginning, on page 8, the town made it clear, the borough made it clear that potential developers shall prepare and submit development proposals that conform to the land use requirements of the adopted Seaport redevelopment plan. And as you just said, that's the driver of this whole process. But if you really look at their proposal, none of the elements of their proposal conforms to the land use requirements of the Seaport redevelopment proposal. So, and then you go on to say in the proposal, in the request for proposal, that in the event that development proposal is not consistent with the requirements of the redevelopment plan, the developer shall, 1, identify each aspect of the proposed development plan that does not conform to the redevelopment plan. That is not done. Was not done in their proposal. 2, provide a comparison of the standard required by the redevelopment plan with the proposed standard for each proposed nonconformance. That was not done. 3, provide a justification and rationale for each proposed nonconformance. That was not done. Right? So what we have is a proposal that doesn't conform to the Seaport redevelopment plan. And from what I'm hearing is, well, we really don't even know what the proposal is, because what they proposed is probably not going to happen. So
no, you misunderstood me. Our planners are going to take a look at it, and they're going to force them to do what's in the Seaport redevelopment. So, but I'm not going to have our planners do that with the cost to the taxpayers. And that's why we're putting this forward today, because I want to see how serious they are. Once they come up with the escrow money, then we're going to start the process.
The other thing that...
This is a big project, and I can't look at it. This is what we have planners and engineers and everything else. Then they'll come back with a report for us.
The other thing that seems a little inconsistent to me is that, if you remember back when this first started, I stood up here and said the request for proposal was for a municipal building or municipal complex and parking, okay, on block 66, lots 1 through 10, which is all municipal-owned property, right? And in that plan, it was discussed, or it was put out there that, well, maybe other properties will be involved. And now I hear that, well, that's like a major portion of whether or not this developer is going to be approved, is that they get contracts for all these other properties as part of this plan. And the question I have is, well, when did that become the primary goal of this plan? The primary goal was to provide a new municipal complex and parking. Okay, now we're up to the point where, we're looking at the developer getting contracts for all of these other properties, and now we're saying, well, if they don't get the contracts, the plan's over. Right? Well, it seems inconsistent to me. What are we doing? Are we telling the developer we want this whole area redeveloped, or are we telling them we want the municipal complex and parking done? Second of all, they're taking the property that we own here in turn for a municipal building, or, as it says later on in the plan, $5 million. But you're also not taking into account that we're giving them 2 streets. We're giving them, whatever that is, River Avenue and 6th Avenue, okay? And I have a feeling that that area, along with this property, is worth a lot more than a municipal building on 16th Avenue, okay? So it just seems very inconsistent and very loose as to how this redevelopment process is occurring. And now I have a few specific things just I'd like to mention about the resolution as I went through it. There's a few ambiguous things in here that I found. In the top, excuse me?
2075.
2075. In the first paragraph, there's a reference, the redevelopment property is known as Block 66, lots 1 through 10, and it's hereinafter referred to as the property, okay? So that's, you got that? Block 66, lots 1 through 10 is the property, okay? Then it goes down further, and it's consistent in paragraph 1. Belmar hereby designates Dobco as conditional redeveloper for potential redevelopment of the aforementioned property. Okay? Block 66, lots 1 through 10. Then we have the conditional appointment and the conditions. The first one, A, being within 45 days of the adoption of this resolution, Dobco must produce redacted contracts entered into with all other private owners within the designated area. What's the designated area?
I thought it would include all these properties.
What's that?
Isn't it including all these properties?
No, because you already own the properties. This is talking about contracts with private owners. The property, as defined in the first paragraph, is the town's property. So what is the designated area? I think that should be defined in the conditional approval.
It's called the adjoining properties, and go back to where it says, whereas Dobco, second paragraph, third paragraph, and read that. There's
Which
your
paragraph
other
is that? I'm sorry.
Okay, 1 to 3rd paragraph, whereas Dobco's proposal includes both the property and other land within the boundaries of Main Street, River Road. There you go with the, read that.
I didn't see that. The first paragraph is whereas, second paragraph, whereas.
Second one is Belmar has received proposal from
Right.
Dobco. Third one, whereas Dobco's proposal includes both the property and other land within the boundaries of Main Street, River Road, and 6th Avenue.
Well, that's not the resolution that was on the website the other day.
Gone through a few iterations. After review, we got through some changes.
Okay. Well, that's another complaint I have. When you make changes to a published resolution, you should always refer back to the original resolution that was published and indicate the changes with strikeouts or additions. I mean, isn't that just common courtesy?
It would be courtesy, but this was done last month. We're trying to do this right and legally. It's just one thing after another. We're changing, we're trying to get it right. And this happened this afternoon. I'm sorry. How are we going to publish it this afternoon?
First of all, this shouldn't even be on a consent
The
agenda.
revised resolution was posted on the website early this morning.
I know that, but my point is, when somebody looks at the resolution yesterday, okay, and I look today, and I look at the resolution, I don't see anything that says it's a revised resolution, okay? So now I know, I have to look at the resolution up to what, 5 minutes before the meeting starts?
Yeah.
To make sure that it hasn't been changed? That's the point?
No, no.
Well, in any event, let's go to C. Maybe that hasn't been changed. It says, in the event any of the private property owners who own property within the property, well, that's a mistake there because it's private owners don't own property within the property because that's the town's property. Decide to void the contract with DOPCO, Belmar retains the right to rescind the conditional redeveloper status as hereforth here and above. Now, I don't know if that was changed, but a comment that I had is, but at any time, what is the time span for the property owners to void the contract? Is it within 90 days? Is it within 180 days? Is it ever? What?
I think it's fair reading to say that they would have to continue to own all that property through the redevelopment plan, which gets adopted, which presumably would get approved in 180 days. I just think that, I think that's...
So would I be correct in assuming that 8 months from now, if one of the property owners drop and they give us notice and they say, you know, we're not going through with the deal, then Belmar would have the right to
yes.
cancel? Okay. The other thing is about the D, about placing money in an interest-bearing account, sum of $100,000. Again, I don't know if that was changed.
No, it was. It was.
Well, was there a date put in there?
No, we're going to indicate that this evening, if the council wants to go forward, that the monies have to be paid in 30 days of today.
Okay, because that was another suggestion I had.
Thank you. 30
And
days.
was the...
That's 125.
Yes, okay. And was the reference to the New Jersey Municipal Land Use Law corrected? NJSA 40A55-1? That's not the correct statute. It's 40:55D.
You're right.
Okay.
5D-1.
And
55-1.
yeah. And finally, does there ever come a time when the conditional developer becomes the developer? Is there a, you know, a point at which the town will have to come up and say, well, now that you've met all these things, is it another resolution that appoints them as a developer?
Yes, because part of the conditions are that within 6 months, we have to enter into a redevelopment agreement.
Right.
If we don't, he's not the developer.
But I mean, after that, assuming everything goes as planned, then after the 6 months, then he will be designated, or they will be designated as the developers.
Well, within 6 months, a redevelopment agreement, as we've done all over town,
Right.
has to be prepared. And that redevelopment agreement would mention him as the
Right.
redeveloper. Now, it's a contract. If he doesn't comply with what's in that contract, then there's other issues.
And that redevelopment agreement will come before the council.
Yes.
Again. Okay. But I still believe, I agree with the other gentleman, I think you're moving too fast. I think there are too many ambiguities. I don't see the value in moving forward. I don't know what the rush is. I think you should go back to step 1. You only got 2 proposals here. I don't think it would hurt to re-advertise it and see if you get any other proposals. Thank you.
While we're on this subject, if you don't mind, I just want to clarify with you, Counselor, that this resolution is in no way any endorsement of this proposal that we received, correct?
Correct, you're correct. Yes.
Okay, because I mean, I have, many of the same questions that a lot of other people have, regarding this process moving forward. We want to do this once, we want to do it right. We want to take the time that we need to take to do it right, and that was the concern I had. This just gets money in a pot so that we can start evaluating.
Money in a pot, and also an acknowledgement from the proposed additional redeveloper that he's acquired the sites which were going to be, that he says are going to be in his plan.
But this will also help the developer secure the properties, right? Essentially.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, I don't know that this would force a property owner to sign the contract. That's not.
No, but if they're holding out, this might be what.
If you go with this resolution, if they don't get all the contracts within
45 days.
45 days, they're not the conditional redeveloper.
And in those contracts, we're not putting pressure on people to sell. Those contracts would be that they're committing themselves to sell, assuming all approvals are granted.
Well, I don't know what the contracts are going to say, but I mean.
Yeah, well, they have letters of intent right now, so we want to see how serious all the
Each of those property owners will get a lawyer, and I'm sure they'll work things out to protect themselves. If they don't want to sell, they don't sell.
One thing I want to be sure about is, one of the things we really need to see is the parking and the traffic and the other professional studies that need to be done. We get to pick the professionals that do that. We use the people that we know.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But the conditional developer is the one who has to pay. So that way the taxpayers aren't paying
It's
for
like
them.
every other application that comes before the planning board. The applicant will have his attorney, his engineer, but the planning board has its own engineer. And
Right.
those fees are paid as part of that application fee.
Mhm.
That's how the borough doesn't have to pay for our engineers. And that's
Right,
what this one.
and more importantly, we're not going to be getting any spin, to make the proposal look more favorable than it actually is. The numbers we get are the numbers that we're going to trust.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, because we'll hire them. Yes, Tom?
I can make those grammatical changes, thanks. I'll refer to everything as an adjoining property, or, I know what you're talking about.
Tom Volker, 527 8th Avenue.
Hi, Tom.
If I understand, hey, Mark, if I understand this, we're going to have them set up a kitty so that we can afford to pay for our due diligence of this, like, who is this guy and that kind of stuff. If he jumps over the hurdles and we get to the point where this is a viable development, do we then have to rebid it so there's several bids?
No, the redevelopment agreement, which must be signed within 180 days per this resolution, would include the plan.
All right.
So if we approve that redevelopment agreement, generally speaking, and it still has to go to the planning board and you have the ordinances, but generally speaking, you're approving the plan.
Is that because we've already went out and solicited the 3 bids that were necessary?
Yeah,
I think that's a requirement, is it not?
Well, no, 3 bids would only be required if you're buying widgets. I mean, this is
Not in something like this. Okay, so it wouldn't have to be rebid?
No. No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Yes, Cheryl?
Sherry Russo, Briarwood Road. I stand before you today because I have concerns over members of the council being able to vote on any redevelopment matter. My concern stems from the existing Belmar ordinance, which prohibits any member of the council from voting on any development matter if they received any type of campaign contribution from a pass-through account. On November 5th, 2018, the campaign account of Walsiver, McCracken, and Juan received an in-kind campaign donation of $858 from the New Jersey State Republican Committee. On November 5th of 2019, the campaign account of McCracken and Carvelli received an in-kind donation of $460 from New Jersey State Republican Committee. Based on Belmar Ordinance 9-5, Mayor Walsiver, Councilman McCracken, Councilman Carvelli, and Councilman Juan are prohibited from voting on any redevelopment matter, including the one being discussed tonight. So I request that the town attorney thoroughly review the Belmar Ordinance 9-5 along with the campaign contributions I mentioned prior to any votes on any redevelopment matters. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, seeing none, April?
Can I have a motion to close the public session?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to approve the resolutions as listed on the consent agenda?
Motion.
April, can we just make a couple comments about them before we just go through and do a blanket vote?
Sure. Yeah.
So I see.
Second to the motion?
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
Okay.
I think Tom did, right?
Right.
No, I motion. I made the motion.
Pat was second. Okay. So resolution number 2020-73 and ordinance number 2020-13, we discussed at our last special meeting on the 18th, I think it was. And I see there on here again, I mean, at that meeting, you, April as the borough clerk, were certain that that meeting was advertised within the timeframes that it should have, and the training that you received, and we received a legal opinion of the same. But we also received a concern from a resident that have had a differing opinion on that. So I see they're back here. Again, is that just because we, in an abundance of caution, we took into consideration the comments that were made and wanted to make sure that we were...
Well, it was too close for comfort for me, so, and I said, we're not going to battle it out in court, so let's just do it all over again. When it was that close, I said, no, we're going to do it, we're going to redo it. Okay. So I talked to Mr. Dasty, and he agreed.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was going to mention that when the ordinance came up.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. For 74, we're up to 6 vendors in total now for the Taylor Pavilion, which is good. I think when we first started, it was pretty much exclusive to one person, or 3 or something.
Yes, 3.
It was 1 when we came on, and then it was 3, and now we're up to 6. So I was delighted to see that we have a lot more options for people who used to, choose to use that municipal building. On 76, I just can't say how glad I am that we have this resolution on here supporting not only veterans but others who may suffer from mental illness and substance abuse, and trying to reduce that stigma. I think that's a good, definitely a good thing for municipalities to bring to the forefront and heighten people. And then on 78, I was happy to see we received that grant to keep our children safe. But I was just curious if anybody knew why Lake Como's getting more money than us.
They are.
Yes, because of RA.
Okay.
They base it on the number of arrests from the year before. Believe me, I used to write this grant, so I know all about it.
In that case, I'm happy that we're taking less money than our neighbors. Thank you.
Just one other thing before we vote. We got to put the 30 days on the money. We got to put.
Thank you, Mayor. 30 days with the
that's on 2075. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And also I'll correct those typos that the gentleman mentioned today.
Okay.
I'll take care of it.
All right, good.
Mayor, can I say something?
Yes.
I understand what everybody's, you're concerned. I'm very concerned too. I want to see the redevelopment. We're not going through this with a bulldozer. We are going to be so careful. And you can sit and think that we're not. We are. This is just the very beginning. We're not going to have anything crazy happen. At least I'm going to put my 2 cents in. I will. Because I believe in the development. I believe what we're doing. But we just can't. We're going to be very careful. I just want you to know everybody on this council is very concerned. The mayor, council, Mr. Dasty, Ed, we're all very concerned. This is the beginning. But we're going to go slow. I'm just telling you, there's no hurry on this. So I just want you to understand that. Thank you.
Okay, April.
All right, Councilwoman Vaughn?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Next, can we have a motion to approve ordinances 2020, 13, 14, 15, and 16 for first reading and introduction?
I'll make the motion. Second.
Councilwoman Vaughn? Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Okay. Public session? Yes.
With all due respect to everyone who's on the council, and I had a brief conversation with Councilman McCracken after the last meeting, you have to understand, though, that what we see is what goes on here within an hour or 2 hours. That is our view of this government, okay? With respect to that RFP, for example, the last time we saw that was, February 6th, when they did the presentation, and that was it, right? Had I not opened the actual RFP, it's not on the website, right? If I had not opened the other RFP from the other company, I wouldn't have it. It's not on the website. So it's like I have to draw information out of this government to try to find out what's going on. And everyone in this audience has the right to know what is going on. And so we are looking at it from the viewpoint that we see a presentation, and now weeks later, there's a decision. Let's approve it. Right? And the question I have is, how did we get from that point to this point? Because we don't have X-ray vision. We can't see what has gone on. What, tell us what has gone on that we've gotten to this point. Why is the other proposal not acceptable? Why are we not going out for other bids? Why this developer? Why not another developer? What's the rush? We don't see that. And what we don't see, we don't trust. And that's how you lose trust in government, right? You need more transparency. And what I see is less transparency. Because everything I need to get, I have to draw out of this government. I'm sending April Oprah requests 3 and 4 times a week. Right? I had to ask for Exhibit A and Exhibit B from the proposal yesterday. Right? Why isn't that on the website? Is it a secret? No, and it's nothing. It's just a document showing, the background of the developer. Why isn't that put on the website? You're not trying to hide anything, but when we don't see it, then it seems that way. Okay? And then suspicion arises. All right? I think you missed the boat by not having a work session to discuss this development. Just like you missed the boat by not having a work session discussing the raise in the fees for the water. Okay? You need to understand our viewpoint. Right? As I said, we have a very small window into what this government does. And it's on, every other Tuesday night, from 6 to whatever, and that's it. And whatever else I can weasel out of, the documents through Oprah. But, I have better things to do too. I don't like constantly trying to guess, what should I ask for? Maybe I should ask for, were there any correspondence between anybody, and every once in a while I come up with stuff and I keep wondering, why isn't that public information? All right? If you look at the right to know law, mostly everything has to be out there. Yeah, there are some categories that, can remain not public. But I don't think you're doing a really good job of making what can be public, public. Right? The same thing with the Oprah. I see every day, every week, we get the same 3 motor vehicle requests. Everybody wants to see the motor vehicle accident reports, the lawyers, right? Like clockwork. Every week, the same 3 requests. Geez, you have to be a genius to figure it out? Just post them. If you're getting the same requests every week and you're giving it to them, then it must be public information. Just put them up on the website. What's the problem? Right? This was a very important thing. I guarantee you half the people here haven't even saw the redevelopment plan. Right? Why? Why haven't they seen it?
Jerry, what could we have done better, in your opinion, with the water? So we had a workshop tonight on that. We had our auditor here explain. We had a workshop last meeting. And we had it at the last meeting. So I'm just trying to understand.
Well, first of all, it should have been done 6 months ago. Okay? Second of all, somebody should have, you have to monitor your budget. I mean, come on. And, again, suspicion. Oh, here we are in the 11th hour. Now we're getting hit with a spreadsheet we can't even read, and it's proposed. Tonight wasn't even advertised that we were going to have this little special workshop, okay? So anybody who was interested maybe is still at home because they didn't know that this was going to go on. I think what should have happened was there should have been a work session during the year with the chief financial officer and the business administrator coming to the council and saying, listen guys, the auditor says we have a problem. He knew about it a year ago. We're getting screwed. We don't know. People are not getting charged for water. We're going to need to increase the rates. How are we going to do that? You can have that work session.
I misunderstood that. I thought they became aware when they said a year. They meant last year. I heard Bob say November. I know it took them some months to put the program, the plan together, and then present it to us. But yeah, I mean,
it doesn't take a genius to look at your revenues during the year and 6 months, 8 months into the year, say, oh, or your expenses, and like, guess what? We're going over. We're spending too much money. Well, this happened, and we had to do this. Well, we're not getting enough revenue in.
Yeah.
But again, I get suspicious when I see a raise come in on February 20th, or whatever it is, that now all of a sudden we have to raise the rates. Oh, and we have to hurry because the state won't approve the budget.
I think that one of the things is, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but one of the things that's been very frustrating for me, being on the councils I have been for 14 months or whatever it is that I've been here, is we are cleaning up a colossal mess. And not all the information that we would like to have is available to us. And understanding that I'm getting from the professionals, it takes a tremendous amount of time to gather this information. And once we do, we're certainly want to do the best we can to get it to the public as soon as I can, have workshops and meetings that are open to the public, and disclose the situation that we've been left with that we're trying to correct.
But my answer to that is, we have the right to know that as it's happening. There's nothing wrong with the business administrator coming out and saying he wants to meet with the council in a work session, or the chief financial officer, and discuss a problem. Why does that have to be done out of the view of the public? It's not supposed to, right? There's not supposed to be any meetings with you guys outside of the public. Okay? And I'm not saying there are, but I'm just saying, but that doesn't mean to say that we can't have a work session where a problem can be discussed. I mean, I think it becomes very suspicious for people to not hear anything, and then all of a sudden, boom, we need to do this. If we had heard about it 6 months ago, like, we've looked into this matter, and we're seeing that there's going to be an issue, and we're going to take further action, we're going to do some more investigating, and we'll bring you up to date at the next meeting. Right? That's a work session. You don't even have to have public input for that. Because my question is always, how do you guys know what's going on?
Well, we have liaisons to different areas.
Now, see, that's something I didn't know. To what areas?
Well, we did it in reorg. We have each member of the council, and the mayor's designated different members of the council, liaison to the beach or DPW, and those are the people that work on issues, and then they bring it to the council where we're all educated on it and can make decisions.
Right. And we need to know that. The public has a right to know that information also. Okay, that's my point. We ought to be as transparent as possible. And I don't see that happening here. I see the opposite happening. We're becoming more opaque, And I think that's the major problem, and that's what leads to distrust in government, and that's what, leads to false assumptions and people, making accusations that aren't true. And if you give us the information, there's no harm. There's no harm done. Just tell us, right? Obviously, there are things that you can't, based on the right to know law. There are obvious things that, shouldn't be put out in public. But I think there's so much other stuff that can be discussed in work sessions rather than have these presentations. To me, that's not a work session, a presentation. A work session is when you're getting down to the nitty-gritty, saying, why are we picking this developer over this developer? Well, what are the pros? What are the cons? What is this? What is that? I mean, that's what you have an attorney for, to tell you what you can say and what you can't say, whatever. But I don't think it does any of us any benefit by just not saying anything. Right? And it just leads to suspicion, and I think, I just think it's bad government. And I think the more you let the public know, you'll be surprised. I think how much more trustworthy people will be if they know that they're getting the information straight when it happens, and not at the 11th hour where these things just pop up. Like today, all of a sudden, boom, we're going to, appoint this person as a conditional developer. Well, where did that come from? Did you even consider the other person? You don't know. Do you know if they even consider? Who made the decision to put that resolution on tonight?
I get it. I know that I deal with that question. I usually involve either the borough clerk yesterday or something for the
Right. I mean, that's a question I've always had. It's like, how does stuff get on the council? Who decides that this resolution is going to be on tonight, or this ordinance is going to be on tonight?
I mean, any council member in our form of government can contact the clerk and ask for something to be considered.
Right. But maybe it's, you know, like that was the question I had tonight. Who put forth this resolution to appoint this person as a conditional developer? I mean, none of you seem surprised or didn't seem to really take issue with it, but you know, it's just a question that I have. It's like, well, how did this happen? You know, again, we have a very narrow viewpoint. We see point A, it's like a black box, you know. This goes into the black box, we don't see what happens, and then all of a sudden, this comes out, you know. Presentation is done, hocus pocus, and this comes out, a resolution to appoint this person. Right? That's my opinion, and I think, you know, I think it goes a long way. We have the technology today puts so much information out there, so that I don't have to constantly be going onto the Oprah site asking for things.
You know,
right?
we can talk about it all night, but we got the point.
But that's my.
Just in support of Jerry, I got to say this. I agree with him wholeheartedly. And the fact of the matter.
Sorry, speaking of the microphone, just give us your name again.
Yeah, sure. My name is Cy, 5th Avenue, Belmar. You know, I'm a little confused. I mean, you're going to pass a resolution tonight, and I don't know, you know, what that really kind of means in terms of you giving this new developer, you know, the opportunity to redevelop, you know, the north end of town. And I agree with Jerry in the sense that, you know, we've only been presented with one plan, and that plan is an artist's rendering. You know, all it is a picture that somebody drew. You know, there's no formal documentation. There's no, engineering plan, no traffic pattern. It's just what some guy in his head drew on a piece of paper. You know, it's a painting. You know, and we're going to pass a resolution based on a painting. I mean, and I just happen to think that you just can't do that.
Well,
you know,
I don't know if you listened to me or not, but the start of this, to start even taking a look at, I'm not spending one dime of taxpayer money. So the two things that they have to be is to put the $125,000 into our escrow account so we can start doing all these studies, getting the engineering, getting our people to look at this whole thing to see even if it's viable. And the other three property owners, they're the driving force. This is a waterfront project. If one of them pull out, it's not even a good project for us. They're gone.
I mean, you know.
So we're going to explore it. This is like an exploratory thing that we get their money to do all the infrastructure study. I want to see a financial impact study. What actually is our roads cost? What does this whole borough cost? I'm not figuring that out. We're going to hire somebody to give us the exact numbers for the road, all of that. And they put in there that plan of $5 million. That's not a solid number. Okay, they put in $5 million. Well, we might have $12 million worth of property here. So all this stuff has to be studied before it even gets into a redevelopment plan to even look at. We got our planners to take a look to see where it matches up to the Seaport redevelopment. And our planners are going to give us a whole report. But we can just keep talking about it and talking about it. Either we're going to explore it or we're not going to do anything. So we decided that we're going to explore it, but they're going to do a couple things first before we even start talking to them.
Okay. But again, the question that I have, and I appreciate your response, and you know, I agree with it in part. But the question I have is that we're going to pass a resolution tonight based on one artist rendering. And you know, you guys have been over the years, you know, since you've been on, you know, since you've been the mayor and council, you've been very transparent with a lot of things. But We didn't see any other options. You know, the community saw nothing. You know, you go online, you see one picture that an artist drew. You know,
Well, I'll go back to
the
the property owners over here. The property owners said, can you please pass a resolution to make sure to see if they're serious or not? If they put us under contract. They put letters of intent, they drew a nice picture, but they didn't come up with any money. So this is what I'm doing. I'm putting their feet to the fire. And let's see what they're gonna do. But there is so much there, so many
why
things.
only the one company?
The other one withdrew.
The other one withdrew.
And plus, it wasn't a good plan.
No.
Eight stories on Main Street.
In the entire country, there's only one developer that is interested in
Put it out
developing.
there. We even
the
put this
north
out to
Belmar.
Brandywine. They didn't submit. I mean, I can't force these developers to submit anything. We put it out.
Which is the point that my friend Jerry made, and that is that why do we have to rush this thing through? Why can't we see if there's other developers out there that may be willing to submit something? It doesn't have to be
back
done
in September, and only 2 submitted.
So it has to happen tomorrow?
All right, Linda wants to say a few words.
Okay.
Can I have a little time, please? Linda Sharkus, 4th Avenue. I have a few questions. One's easy. It's March. If we're continuing community policing, could we set up a meeting to have this happen?
We are setting up a community, we have a new chief of police. We also have new policemen at the South Zone. I've been sick, so now we're setting up, we'll be ready for spring. We're having a meeting of everybody. I'll let you know when.
Okay, second point. It's my understanding that on Route 35, there's potential opportunity for redevelopment. When might we be hearing, has something been submitted or under consideration?
Well,
Or
they've
the
discussed it,
hotel
but we haven't seen any kind of plans or anything yet. So they're in discussion stages with the property owner.
Okay, my third point, as we talk about transparency, when we engage in a contract and take $125,000 from the investor, wouldn't it behoove us to tell him we don't like his plan as it's been submitted and at least give him the benefit of knowing it won't look a lot like what he's proposed?
These developers already know that we've got to go through our engineering phase, our planners. We have waterfront, so there's got to be a marine engineer even to take a look at the whole waterfront. So all these steps that have to go through, it's a lot. It's really a lot before it ever comes to where they're actually able to build something like this. I mean, even the hotel, they have a hotel. I want to find, they have to have a named hotel operator before we'll even look at it. Because the developer is not going to run a hotel. So I want to find out before we go down this road, even to the hotel, they have to have a viable operator that we're going to approve.
But my point of bringing up Route 35, do we actually want 2 hotels and, you know, what would they be doing with a strip across from Marina?
I have no idea what they want.
Really?
They haven't presented anything to us yet, so.
But it's hard to, you know, we need to enlarge the plan for the redevelopment so we're not putting all of our town on the north end and losing the downtown for the other businesses. And that's my fear with what's proposed. It's will be too much centered on the north end and the south end of town will turn into a ghost town. So I just want you guys to think about how we get the other people to consider what they want to develop. So as part of the process, we're looking at the overall development picture for Belmar. That's what I'd like to see, and I hope maybe some of you could share that kind of vision and process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Mark Pfeiffer, 319 Fifth Avenue. This is not about redevelopment, you'd be happy to know. I think, I'd just like to applaud Jerry and Jean Kramer, because they really have the best interests of the town in mind. I think it's great to have people like that come here. I think it's also great that you have not put a 5-minute limit on people who are standing up, like the previous mayor did.
Yeah, I don't like to do that.
You know, so I mean, so I applaud you for that. I'll be up here to speak about the parking company for Ocean Avenue. The system works great in Asbury. You're in a restaurant, you need more time, in case you're delivered, you just do it, you take care of it. With that said, why not take this opportunity to have them also give us a proposal for the marina? Set aside spots for the boat owners, and then charge in all the other spots, but have them give us a proposal for that, see what they come up with. They might designate
We are
lines.
taking that into consideration, because we don't, with this system, we don't need the hardware for anything. So we could move and adjust things all over town. I mean, even to the point where we have a parade and we want to charge for a lot. We just put the signs out there, and they have to have the app to park in one of the lots. So there's a lot to the system, and we're going to be working with them to see. But one of the marina is one of the places we're looking at.
That's great, because now's the time with the leverage, see what they say about it, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else?
Hello, Brett Lomas, 9th Ave. So, not about redevelopment, but one of the things that you had mentioned the rec center and Barry, and he does a really awesome job with the kids. I have 2 kids that love going to the open gyms that he does, the youth club on Saturdays, and it's nice because me and my wife get to go out for the 2 hours that he's at youth club. It's perfect there at youth club. One of the things, though, is on Main Street, I believe that 9th Ave is the last street heading north with walk, don't walk signals. And so one of the things, as kids are walking from the school to the gym, which a lot of them do, once they get to 8th Ave, which is 8th Ave is a busy street to be crossing.
We met with DOT, it's in the plan, 8th
Okay.
Avenue. 8th Avenue, we're looking at splitting that lane for a right-hand turn and the signals.
They're going to do 8th, 7th.
8th, 7th, that's in the plan. We're
Okay.
working on that, we met with
Good.
DOT. I got communication again today.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
State Road.
yeah, and that's, I knew that it was, and I actually, for a long time, never even noticed it. And I was walking them down one day, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize.
April's preparing a resolution for, to work on the project for next meeting, a vote of confidence for the state to continue.
All right.
So that's what we're working on.
Great, thank you.
Helps to see the little man. It really does.
It does, yeah.
Anyone else? All right, April, seeing none?
Can I have a motion to close the public session and adjourn the meeting?
Second.
In favor?
All right. Thank you all for coming out.